Hello friends, good afternoon. This is Shankar Swaminathan again from New Jersey. This is the third in the series of presentation that I'm making on the Indo-Pakistan war and its aftermath. It's absolutely no exaggeration to say that we are all feeling happy. All of us Indians, wherever we are feeling happy and even relieved somewhat. But that actually begs the question that, can we remain complacent under the impression that all is hunky-dory, everything is going to be peaceful from now on? I don't really think so at all. So let us actually see what the future really holds for India-Pakistan relationship and the politics of South Asia. For us to arrive at the right determination, we should be able to understand Pakistan well. And we have to actually go into the question why there has been repeated wars between India and Pakistan since independence. All of them by Pakistan's belligerents. So let's look at what makes Pakistan different from other nations in the neighborhood. For the moment, I am actually confining myself only to the neighborhood. South Asia, perhaps it actually makes Pakistan different from most of the nations of the globe. But let's actually talk only about the neighborhood, South Asian, talk only in the South Asian context for the moment. One of the things that we should realize is that countries, not just in South Asia, but even beyond, have always looked at India with a sort of grudging admiration. That's a bitter truth, actually. They all like us. They all possibly, many countries like us, many leaders like us. They all even have a lot of admiration for us, but it's all only grudging admiration. It's never wholehearted. While India has never had unqualified goodwill from most nations, with perhaps the exception of the erstwhile Soviet Union and the socialist bloc countries, it has never had the wholehearted support of the whole world, as I said. This is not only the result of the Cold War power politics, but Cold War power politics has a lot to do with the state that we have actually found ourselves in. But it also has a lot to do with the morally right stances that India has consistently taken in the global fora on most issues. Again, there have been exceptions, I know, particularly where it actually concerned the actions of the erstwhile Soviet Union. India's position has not been really very acceptable, and it could not be actually justified. For example, the invasion of Soviet Union on Afghanistan. India supported Soviet Union. Anyway, but then now we actually talk about the relationship with Pakistan. It has always been somewhat similar to that of squabbling siblings, and that is possibly a parting gift by the British, at least to some extent. They found it convenient to partition India and Pakistan because of the clamor for a separate nation for the Muslims by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Let's not go into that politics right now. Anyway, the problem with Pakistan is that it has always been consumed by hatred, jealousy and prejudice for India throughout its existence since the partition days. Unfortunately, Pakistan has never been blessed with a statesman after its independence who could see things beyond his or her nose. So its leaders have never been able to see the huge promise and potentials that would have been theirs, that would have made Pakistan quite wealthy and prosperous and peaceful too, if they had managed to have a good relationship in India, and they would have had all the blessings. I mean, in terms of economy, in terms of military strength, in terms of respectability and the stature and the standing in the world, all of that. But unfortunately, Pakistan has not chosen to go that route. Unfortunately, also, Pakistan has always chosen to go with the Chinese, mistakenly describing it as an all-weather relationship, all-weather friendship. Little do they know or realize that the Chinese under the communists who play their cards much better than anybody in the international politics doesn't provide any kind of support to anybody for free. More about that later. That's also perhaps one reason why it's going to be a lot more difficult for Chinese to become an accepted superpower like America, for example, so far till 20th century, till present day. So, with the unfortunate geographical positioning, very inconvenient positioning that India is precariously placed with two inimical neighbors, what are the portents for the future in the short and long run? Simply put, Pakistan just cannot be trusted now or ever in the foreseeable future. That's a hard truth, bitter reality. That's something that we have to be very conscious of. India has to be conscious of if it has to actually take the right decisions, the right steps to safeguard its own interests. The reason is, as I said before, not only are they completely consumed by hatred for India and jealous about India's standing in the world and India's successes, the stakeholders of Pakistani politics, mainly the military, which wields real power, has also huge stakes in keeping the pot boiling, particularly the Kashmir issue. Plainly, it is just huge money available to its generals at their command. Plainly, it is just a vast resources and huge money available to the generals of Pakistan. Besides establishing its own indispensability for the Pakistanis mainly. The military in Pakistan likes to play on the fears and insecurity of its citizens, particularly those in the rural areas, people who are not really very well educated. So Kashmir issue would never get resolved, not as long as the present Pakistani structure remains as it is right now. For sure, the battering that they have now taken from the Indian military would handicap them for some time, and they would be prevented from hopefully they would be prevented from playing the terrorism game all over for some time. Only as long as the military remains immobilized and regain their strength somewhat. It would take time for them to recover from this, but once they do, there certainly would be no change in its attitude or approach towards India. This trend has continued ever since the First War in 1948, immediately after independence, when Pakistan under Liaquat Ali chose to send the Pakistani soldiers inside Kashmir dressed as the locals. And they made use of the money that they actually got from India. I think it's around 25 crores for buying weapons. So that's all past history. Jawaharlal Nehru and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel were very much against giving money to Pakistan, but Gandhiji chose to go on an indefinite fast and they had to oblige Gandhiji. So 25 crores was given to Pakistan, with which Pakistan, it could have been spent in so many other constructive ways, but Pakistan chose to buy weapons and straight away sent its soldiers inside India. That's history. But POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, is still in Pakistan's hands. History is the best teacher, as I always keep saying. So it would be absolutely foolhardy to expect the Pakistani military in particular to behave in any different way with or without Modi on the Indian side. Of course, there might be some hesitation for some time, as I said, however minor, to once again resort to sending terrorists inside Kashmir. But the temptation for the Pakistani military, what with their psyche, always wanting to fight, always wanting to quarrel, it never actually works very constructively. But so the temptation for the military to avenge by whatever means available would be too strong on the generals. I don't think they'll be able to resist that. Hence, as foolishly as ever, it won't be surprising to see them plunging headlong. After all, it's not the military generals who pay the price. See, even in this instance, presently, this short war that has just gone on now for about 4 days, you have not heard a word from Asim Munir, Pakistani general, once the war started. Before that, he was supposed to have actually spoken somewhere, pointing out the difference between Hindu and pointing out the imaginary differences, perceived differences between Hindus and Muslims in terms of strength, all kinds of nonsense. But after that, we have not heard a word from him. So the Pakistani generals, only when they are somewhat feel confident about their strength to talk, they will act. But foolishly most of the times. And so we could be fairly certain that China would continue to goad them also to do so, to keep causing troubles to India under again the garb of their stated all-weather friendship, whatever that means. That said, there is one caveat, however, which is that Pakistan could do so only if it remains in one piece. With what is actually going on in Balochistan, it is highly doubtful how long Pakistan would be able to retain the region. The other factor that would work in favor of India is that the Afghans of all affiliations have always been, including Taliban, they have always been favorably disposed towards India. They have always liked India. In fact, personally, I have actually met quite a few Afghans when I was in Canada, and they have all actually talked gloriously about India, very fondly about India, because many of them have actually come into Canada through Delhi. They would first go to Delhi in those times, I'm talking about during the time of Soviet invasion, but they have always been favorable towards India, and they have never had any love lost for Pakistan. So they always had a soft spot for India, and that will actually work to our India's advantage. The same would hold for Iran too. So let's hope Pakistan would have enough on its plate to keep its focus away from India. But then, in the world of real politics, I would be really surprised if the proactive and pragmatic Modi government, with the redoubtable Ajit Doval in charge, the spy master, with Ajit Doval in charge, if I would be really surprised if they actually let Pakistan sleep peacefully anytime soon. Thank you very much. God bless Mother India. Jai Hind.